As a contractor, have you ever experienced setting goals but then not actually having them turn into reality? It's super frustrating, right? If you said yes, that you're not alone. I've seen this happen a lot of times with people, and the problem really comes down to that oftentimes when we set goals, we don't actually have a way that we then dig down and break those goals into bite-sized pieces. And that's what I want to talk with you about today. I'm Vicki Suter with Suter Business Builders, and for over 25 years, I've been helping contractors have a greater sense of clarity and confidence about how to take more powerful actions in their businesses so that their goals turn into reality. And in today's video, I want to share with you, this was actually a conversation I had with a client just this morning about how do they turn their goal for 2022 into a reality, because they're looking at increasing their revenue by 30%. And while at some level they really believe that that can happen, they've not actually been there before, and it's a bit of a stretch. And I said, so let's just talk about how do you kind of break that elephant into bite-sized pieces. And what I want to share with you is I'm going to just walk you through, I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to walk you through what were some of the key questions that I asked him that helped him be able to see and to sort of start to break down what those goals were so that he could know what next actions to take. And I think that you're going to find as you follow through, and you might have whatever your goal is with you as you're listening here, but I think you're going to find that there is a really simple way to look at this that will help you have that greater sense of clarity so that you have more confidence, so that you too can take more powerful actions. So let me just share my screen. When Dan said that he had a goal of doing $3 million for 2022, I said, all right, so tell me what your biggest concerns are. He said, first of all, that I need to increase the number of leads that are coming in every week, and to make sure that I can reach that goal, because the number of leads that we're currently getting are not meeting that goal. And I actually will show you, but we came up with that he needs 6 new leads a week at an average of $150,000 to $200,000 each in order to meet his goal of $3 million. And then the second thing that he said is that his design capacity must increase. So his designer needs one more person that will help in the design department, and then one more person in the field. So those are the two things that he said he has the biggest concerns about in terms of his ability to do $3 million in revenue. So I said, well, let's talk about the labor needs first. You need to have a support person for your designer. So the first thing that you have to do is define that position agreement, right? Or that job description, and be clear about what it is that you need, and what you want to have that person do, and what you're going to pay that person, and so on and so forth. And so he already has a job description or a position agreement for the lead person, so he just knows that he needs to get one more person in the field. So we said, okay, so one of the things that he agreed to do is he's going to start placing ads for those positions and at least start to get the word out there. I asked Dan to define for me what constitutes a quality lead, and he said, well, is a project the size of $100,000 to $400,000, our sweet spot is about $200,000. And he said at $3 million a year, I said, so let's just figure out how many jobs that are. He says, really, it's about, if I take 3 million divided by 200,000, I get 15 jobs a year at 200,000 each. He said the actual average is about 30 jobs. I said, well, let's be conservative and let's look at the 30 jobs, but let's look at it with a goal of eventually you have more of those sweet spot jobs. But good for you to know, first of all, what is your sweet spot job, so that when you're out there and you're looking to do marketing, where do you focus your efforts? Where are those people, right? Who are the architects who don't want to do that type of work, or the designer who needs a contractor who focuses on that type of work, right? So that's the second set of questions he's going to ask. So the first thing we had to do was to define what's the ideal client. So the first thing was ideal size, 200,000. The second thing is how many jobs would you have to do? And then I said, so what's the scope, right? So we defined that. He said kitchens, and then master bathrooms, and some windows and doors. Okay, great. And then who's the client? It's somebody who's done a home improvement or remodel project before. They've tried to manage their own project, but they found it difficult. They worked with a designer architect before, so they have some experience of working with a team like that. They're a long-term homeowner, right? They're not planning on just flipping it. And they're willing to invest money into a quality outcome, right? Important, right? Because part of what we were starting to do is to narrow in on the type of project and the size and the type of client. So I said, tell me a little bit more about the demographics of this client. He said, well, it's somebody who's 40s or older. It's a couple who lives in the home, that they've been in their house at least 5 years. They're ready to make an investment in it. They're professionals in their career, and they're in the San Francisco residence. So in this case, Dan's got a business in San Francisco, and that's really where he wants to focus his efforts. And then I said, where do they come from? Where do those customers come from? He said they come from past clients, referrals from other clients. So past clients doing repeat work, referrals from past clients, referrals from designers or architects, or Yelp. So then I said, what needs to be coming in to get you to $3 million? And the current stats, he said that I first asked, tell me about your close rate, right? Because in order to know how we're going to get to 3 million, you first got to know, all right, so of the leads that come in, if we're talking about getting more leads in, how many of those are you converting to actual sales? And he said of the design, inquiries that come in, about 10 of those turn into design agreements. And of those design agreements, 90% of those turn into contracts. I'm like, okay, great. So in order to do 3 million in work with an average number of jobs being 30 in a year, then you need 300 inquiries coming in, which is 25 a month, which is roughly 6 a week. So this was really key because I said, what am I doing here, right? So what I was trying to do with Dan was basically to say, hey, let's break this elephant into bite-sized pieces and let's just focus on how can you have 6 leads come in every week and then 25 come in every month, so that you can make sure that you are going to be on a trajectory to be able to meet your goal. Now, a couple of things that could happen for Dan. One thing that could happen is that Dan could increase his job size, in which case if he wasn't doing 30 jobs, but he was doing 15, then that would be half that number, right? So if the job size got larger, that would help him. But we wanted to go with a conservative route, and I said, let's assume it is 30 jobs. Not recommending that you focus on that, but let's set that as a goal. And then as you see the number in the dollar volume of those jobs go up, then you can actually decrease the number of leads that you have to have coming in. And then I said, let's talk about it from a dollars and cents point of view. How many design agreements do you have to get in terms of a dollar volume? How much volume do you need to have coming through in order to get to that $3 million? And what we just figured out, we just did some simple math. And I said, so if you want $3 million and 10% of those turn into signed agreements, and then 90% of those design agreements turn into contracts, then you actually need $33 million worth of work coming in design inquiries in order to meet your goal. So then the question was, how are you going to do that, right? What are some potential ways for you to be able to do that? And really what we did is because 33 million is a big number, right? I'm like, how do you make that more palatable? And I'm like, let's focus on the 6 jobs a week. Let's just focus on that number. What has to happen to have that happen? And so we talked about it could be that he needs to increase his ad spend on Yelp, to do more SEO of his website, more direct designer and architect outreach, and more direct referrals and requests of clients. So those are the first 4 that Dan came up with of, all right, so what's my strategy for being able to do this? Now Dan's got somebody on his team who does marketing for him. And so now Dan can go back to his person who does marketing and go, I need you to get me some more information about what's involved with doing Yelp, and increasing our ad spend there. What's involved in, let's go get a quote for doing SEO. Come up with a strategy and a plan for doing more consistent outreach to clients. So how we left the conversation today was he's going to go away and work on this next piece down here. But you can see, like, we went from, instead of him just going like a shotgun approach to, I'm just going to do all those things, because he could have certainly come up with this list before that. But now, here's the key thing that Dan has, is Dan has a goal. Dan's goal is to get 6 new leads coming in every week. That was the key that came out of this for Dan. And he was like, it was helpful to ask those questions, and it's helpful for you to ask those questions, but also by asking all of these questions, what it's going to have him do is, as he's doing the rest of this marketing, it's going to have him actually be more strategic about, all right, well, how can I turn this, because this was the other part of the conversation, how can I turn this into 3 a week? Well, I'd have to do an average job size of 200,000. So one of the things that you want to ask yourself is just, these are, and I know I'm kind of throwing a lot of numbers around here, but here's the thing. Knowing these numbers for you and your business can start to have you have more control over the results that you create. And when you can have more control over the results you can create, you can make a more consistent profit. You can have more consistency in the revenues that come in. You can start to be in charge of that. And it all comes down to a few simple things. The few simple things that it comes down to is having that greater sense of clarity so that you can have more confidence, so that you can take more powerful actions. And your best way of doing that is to have a clear idea of, what are my goals? What's my ideal client? How many leads do I have to have? The more you can start to define some of those things for yourself. And, I'm just talking right now about one area of your business, but the more you can find and answer some more questions for yourself that help you have more data, help you have more clarity about what you want, the more confidence you're going to have to know what powerful actions to take. So I hope you found today's video helpful. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you drop me a note below, let me know what you think of today's topic, if you have anything to add to it. And I look forward to seeing you next time on The Profit Builder.